I didn't do debt consolidation, but that was basically me for a long time. I had this constant cycle of, I just always had a credit card payment. One of my humblest, ickiest moments in my life, I graduated from college and I had, I don't know, $5,000 in credit card debt. And so I was getting ready to go to grad school, and I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to pay off credit card debt. I'm going to be making $7,000 a year. You guys, I lived on $7,000 a year. I don't even know how I did it. And so I asked my parents to pay off my credit cards so that I wouldn't have to worry about that. And they did, God love them. But when I graduated from grad school, I had $5,000 more in credit card debt. And I just had this constant cycle of credit card debt. There were, I bet probably 3 or 4 times a year I'd bounce a check because I didn't really know how much was in my account. I was like, there's probably money in there. There were times I'd have like $12 in my account, and it was Tuesday, and I didn't get paid till Friday. And I was like, do I have enough gas to get me to and from work between now and then, and enough food in my house to feed me between now and then? That was normal. I would charge everything up for Christmas, and then I'd use my tax return to pay down, not pay off, pay down my credit card. And that was the cycle that I lived in. And I just thought that was normal. I thought it was normal to live on the brink of red and in the black. And that was just the way that I did my finances, because I bought what I wanted. I did what I wanted, and if I didn't have money, just put it on a credit card, no big deal. And then when I was at Crossroads, I was talking to a friend of mine, and he's like, hey, I took this Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace class. They're offering it. Do you want to I'm going to take it again. It's so good. I think I'm going to take it again. And he's like, do you want to take it? And I'm going to be honest. I was not so much wanting to get rid of my financial problem as I had a bit of a crush on him. I was like, yeah, I'll do it. So I took the class, Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace class, and it changed my life. It changed my life. Every mistake that Dave Ramsey said, I'm like, I did that one. That one's me. You know, the whole get a new credit card with 0 APR for 6 months so you can pay off your old credit card, and then you can pay it down and you're not paying all that interest rate. But then you end up with 17 credit cards. All these things he said, buy your house with a deposit and do a 15-year mortgage instead of buying your house with 0 deposit and put it on a 30-year mortgage. That's what I did. I made every mistake that he talked about, because my parents are awesome, but they did that's the way they did. So they came from poor, and that was the way they did it. And so that I learned so much. And one of the first things that we had to do in the program was evaluate our net worth, which means looking at how much debt you have. And I did it, and I was like, whew. I had $25,000 in debt between credit cards, and student loan debt, and I think I might have still had a car payment at the time. And I was like, there is no, how can I made twice that at the time. I was like, how can I possibly pay off half of my annual salary? They say the average is 18 months for people to get out of debt. I'm like, there is no way that I can get out of debt in 18 months. And I did not get out of debt in 18 months. It took me longer than 18 months, but I slowly worked the system. He taught a system of very hands-on things, very practical things that you can do. And so the first step is to get $1,000 in an emergency fund. I didn't have any savings to speak of. I had $200 in savings. So I got $1,000 in savings, and then I was super grateful because my hot water heater went out, and it was an $800 fix. And I didn't stress about it. I just said, here's $800. Where before I would have had to put that on my credit card, because I wouldn't have had $800 extra. And then he says to get out of debt and do this thing called the debt snowball. So I worked the debt snowball, and I remember that feeling of when I paid off that first credit card, totally paid it off, I was like, oh, this feels great. And then that energized me to double down on being disciplined and doing it and keeping working the system. He says that you should have an envelope system, and you should okay, I've got whatever, I have $200 this month to spend on fund money. So you put it in an envelope. And I would put my money in an envelope. And there were times my friends would say, hey, we're going out to dinner. You want to come? And I had to say, sorry, my envelope's empty. I can't go anywhere. Grocery money. Kroger used to have these reloadable Kroger cards. I don't know if they still have this. So I put my grocery money on my reloadable Kroger card. And when it was empty, I had to take money out of my fund envelope to pay for groceries. And you only do that once or twice, and you're like, oh, that's not fun. Now I can't go to the movies. And so I learned, and I paid off all my debts, and I built up an emergency fund. Like, I've worked his system, and it changed my life. And now, like, money doesn't stress me out. I don't have a rolling credit card debt anymore. Like, it's just like, when that stress of money is off of you, you feel so much better. And that it did bring me, his class is called Financial Peace. Financial Peace. And he says, live today so that you can live tomorrow. Live differently today so that you can live differently tomorrow. And his goal is for you to have this great retirement because you've done all these things and now you've got peace in your retirement. And so I loved it so much. I was so like, this is important, that I went to my principal and I'm like, we need this class. We need our kids to have this class. And he's like, okay, you can teach it. So I did. I taught it. I got Dave Ramsey has a high school program, which I got to be honest, like, it was really the adult program with a workbook. Like, it was his same videos, and the kids would be like, oh, the videos. You know, they did not love the videos, but we had great conversation. And I've been teaching the class for, 10, 15 years at this point. And during the pandemic, I got this note from a former student. She says, I just wanted to give you a big thanks for everything you taught me in life skills. That's that class. She says, sitting there and watching your Dave Ramsey videos was so boring, but all this stuff that's happening is finally paid off. My husband always says we can die with money so we can just spend it. But she says, thanks to you, we have enough money to get us through for a while with an emergency fund. I took a lot from your class and wanted to say thank you, hope all is well. I hadn't seen this girl in probably 7-8 years. I forgot she was even in my class. Like, it had been that long. But it paid off because my life was so changed. I did something that helped someone else's life change. And I still think this class should be required in schools. Kentucky finally passed a law that kids have to be taught some sort of financial literacy. And I was like, yes. And then our principal was like, yeah, we're just going to squish it into civics class because we don't have anywhere else to put it. I'm like, no, that's not going to change lives, but whatever. So I still teach my life skills class. I still teach them how to budget and stay out of debt and like retire with dignity. All these things that Dave Ramsey taught me, I taught them. And all of it was because I chose to take that class. I chose, and Dave Ramsey impressed upon me so much that this change will lead you to a better life. And I did it, and I worked the system, and it was awesome. And now my life is so much better because of it. And that's when we decide to change, sometimes we just have to make that decision to take the class, to do something different, because we cannot keep doing what we've always done and get different results. I cannot keep doing the same things but get a different result. They say that insanity is doing the same thing over and over but expecting different results. People think that's Einstein. Actually, it was AA who came up with that. You know, there's programs like AA and Weight Watchers that have been around forever, and they all know that the first thing you got to do is stop doing what you've always done. Dave has this big thing. He has these big scissors, and there's a day where you're supposed to cut up all your credit cards because he's like, how can you get out of debt if you keep going into debt? The first thing you got to do is stop going into debt. Like the SNL thing, stop buying stuff that you don't have the money for. That's the first step. You got to stop doing what you've always done. You know, January is a time for us to make these resolutions. We resolve to do something different. We look at our lives. I always do in January, I call it a stop, start, and continue. And I look at some of my patterns and habits. What do I need to stop doing? What do I need to start doing? And what am I doing well? What do I need to continue doing? And I sit down and I pray and I talk to God about that. I think about finances. I think about my health. I think about my spiritual health. What are some things in my life, Lord, that I'm not doing right, that need to change, that need a turnaround? And when I took Dave's class, it turned around the way I have money in the best possible way. But the hard one thing is we've got to resolve to do it. We've got to resolve to change. We've got to make a change in direction. We've got to stop doing what we've always done. Because if we keep doing what we've always done, we will keep getting the results we've always gotten. There's got to be a change of direction. And so AA says their first step is we admit that we are powerless and life has become unmanageable. So my question to you is, what area of your life has become unmanageable? Is it your finances? Is it your health? Relationships? Something in your job? Is it your spirit life? Is your spirit life feeling weak and anemic? Like, what is it in your life that's not working for you? You know, in this message series, I'm thinking about, like, there are areas in my life where I am surviving, but I want to thrive. There are areas in my life where I'm getting by, but I don't want to just get by. I want to thrive. What areas of your life are you tired of just surviving and getting by? What areas of your life do you want to thrive? And that's going to be different for every one of us. But the first thing we've got to do is change direction. There's a story in the Bible. Jesus is talking to, it's kind of funny. Jesus is talking to, like I said, with the shepherds and the wise men. He's talking to really poor people who know they're sinners, and he's talking to the Pharisees. And so he tells the story. He says, there was a man, he was a rich man. He had 2 sons. And the younger one comes to his dad, and he's like, Dad, I want my share of the estate. Give me my money. I don't want to wait for you to die. I want my money now. And so the father in his love did it. He divided the estate. Now think about this, you guys. He sold half of his property and all of his stuff. He sold and gave the son his money. And he had to know his son. He had to know what was going to happen. So the son went off and he partied. It says the youngest son got together. It says long after that, the younger son got together all he had, set out, and squandered his wealth in wild living. You guys, he wasn't building a 401k. Okay, he was partying. He was buying dinner for people and going on extravagant vacations and staying in the nice suites. And he just blew through all that money. And after he spent everything, half of his father's estate, when his father had a lot, there was a severe famine in the whole country, and he began to be in need. And so he went and hired himself out to the citizens of the country, who sent him to the fields to feed the pigs. Now, you might not realize this, but in Jewish tradition, this is a Jewish man, this was the lowest you can get. They thought pigs were unclean. They wouldn't touch them. They wouldn't eat them. They thought they were these gross creatures. So to be feeding pigs is about as low as you can get. Jesus said feeding pigs because he wanted the listeners of the story to understand you don't get any lower than this. If you're sitting in the pig pen with the poop and the stink and all that, and you're feeding the pigs, you don't get much lower than that. So this guy is starving and he's feeding pigs. But he doesn't have any food himself. He's starving and he's like, man, I want some of that. And so he's sitting there and he's like, this stinks, literally. I don't want to be here anymore. And so he decided to make a change. And Dave Ramsey, here's a Dave Ramsey clip. And Dave Ramsey talks about a poopy diaper, so I thought it was perfect to fit right here in the message. The son had to make a change. He came to his senses. He's like, I've got to do things different. And so he's like, I'm gonna change direction. I'm gonna stop partying and hanging out here, and I'm gonna go back home. I'm gonna go back to my father. He says, I'm going to set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. He had to admit, I did it wrong. What I did, not working for me. I messed up. He says, and then he realizes, he's like, I'm not even worthy to be called your son. Just make me one of your servants. And so he got up and he went to his father. He got up, he changed direction, and he made a move to go to his father. And that is the difference between lasting change and not lasting change. To do it on your own, out of your own self-effort, is really hard. I had tried and tried to spend better, to get my finances under control, and I couldn't do it. Dave Ramsey's program is a program built on faith. One of his steps is to give to others, to tithe. And when I first took it, I'm like, seriously, I have all this debt and you want me to give money away? Like, that doesn't make any sense. But I did it. And I believe that God helped me pay off my debts and gave me the discipline that I needed to get it done. Because on my own, I was not able to fix my finances. By myself, I couldn't do it. I didn't have the discipline, the wherewithal to keep at it when it was hard. I needed God's strength to do that. I tried to give up Diet Coke for years. I gave it up for Lent multiple times. I tried telling myself it wasn't good. Finally, I was like, Lord, I want to stop drinking this. Help me. And God helped me not like Diet Coke anymore. Man, I'll tell you, from a financial perspective, I'm glad. I went to buy some soft drinks with my parents. $10 a 12-pack. That's insane. I'm so glad financially that I stopped drinking Diet Coke because it's expensive. But I needed help with that change. I couldn't do it myself. Cindy's like, I'm not giving up Diet Coke, Stephanie. You can't make me.
Jesus ain't gonna make me.
He will not make you. This is what I love about God. God says, come to me and I will help you. You know, if we come to him and we don't ask him for help in certain areas, a lot of times he won't make you. He doesn't force you to change your poopy diaper. You got to come to him and be like, I want out of this poopy diaper. Whatever your poopy diaper is. You know what I mean? And if you're cool with something, he's like, all right, we're cool then. We're not going to work on that right now. You know, I love, oh, that's an old slide, sorry. There it is. No? Nope. What the heck? Sorry, guys. I didn't take some old slides out. I love this. I keep seeing this on social media. I keep seeing it on Facebook. All kinds of people are posting it. God says, forget the former things. See, I am doing something new. I had to forget my former ways of spending money to do something new. But I couldn't do it on my own. You know, in Isaiah, I read Isaiah 43, and the Israelites are in bad shape. And God is saying, you're in a pig pen right now. You're sitting in your poopy diaper. I can help you change that poopy diaper. I can help you. Think about it. Can a baby change its poopy diaper by itself? No. Sometimes they'll rip them off. They might take them off, but they don't put a fresh one on. You need your father to help you put the fresh diaper on. So, whether it's in your personal life, in your finances, in your health, in your emotional health, in your spiritual health. I'd even say here in the church, we need to be thinking like there's some former things we need to let go of, and we need to come to God and be like, God, help us. Help us change. Help us take this poopy diaper off. Help us do the new thing, because God loves to do a new thing. When the son came home, the father didn't make him work in the field. The father brought him into the big house, put a big rich robe on him, a ring, threw a party, because he had come home. And that's what God wants to do. When you say, I'm done with this method, this old way that's not serving me, something has become unmanageable in my life, and I want to change direction. When you change direction, you come to God and say, God, I need help. I know I want to go this way when my whole life I've been going that way. Will you walk with me and keep me from turning around? Because I'm the kind of person, I'll take a couple steps this way, and then I'm like, oh, this way's hard. I don't want to do it. I think I'm just going to go back that way. I understand that way. I understand what it looks like over there. That way was easy. That way used to work for me. And God's like, no. Come on. We're going to go this way. And he holds your hand when you're turning. You're like, I picture God, and I'm looking like, but that way was fun. He's like, come on, Stephanie. Come this way. Come this way to health. Come this way to financial stability. Come this way to a stronger faith life. That way was surviving. You're sitting in the pig pen starving. This way is thriving. This way is an abundant party with like velvet, like awesome clothes, heat. That's what this way is like. But you got to forget the former things and let me help you do the new thing. So as we go through this week, I want you to sit, take some time this week and ask yourself, Lord, what area of my life am I just surviving? What area of my life is the pig pen? And what area of my life am I sitting in the poopy diaper? Help me, Lord, to forget the old things. Help me, Lord, to make the decision and hold your hand and not let go of me, Lord, as you walk me to a place of thriving, as you walk me to a place where I can be the person that you made me to be, the healthy, financially stable, happy person who has a strong relationship with God. That's what we are made to be. And God can help you get there, but we need his help. I don't know about you guys, but I am the queen of excuses. I'll come up with 8,000 excuses to go back to the old way. I need God's help to walk me into the better way. So this week I dare you to write down one area of life where you are just surviving and not thriving. And then, or ask God, what needs to change? What do I need to change? Am I willing to change? You need to ask yourself, am I really willing to do the work? I had to do the work to make that change in my finances. I had to do the work of the envelope system and not charging up things. I had to live different. Are you willing to do the work to make the change? You could read the story of the prodigal son, and then to engage someone else. Tell a trusted person that you want to change. It really does. Next week, we're going to talk about teaming up. It really does help when you tell someone, I want to change, and they'll kind of help hold you accountable. And maybe they'll say, that's a great idea, but what about this? Or they might say, that's a great idea. Hey, here's a new recipe I found. Whatever. They might help you make that change. But it helps if you tell other people, because then it makes it harder to go back to the old way, because then they're like, well, I thought you were going to go this way. Why are you sitting over there? That's what friendships do. That's what accountability does for us. So what area of your life are you just surviving that you want to thrive? Think about that this week. And all of God's children said, Amen.